Paul DeZiel,
Here.
Jim Weber, here.
Yeah.
So we have a quorum. My computer wants me to do lots of things right now, so we'll just skip that. Bring the agenda up. So who takes Deb's position when she's not here?
I'll be taking down minutes for
Try
her.
to-
Yeah, I'll kind of do a dual role.
Okay.
Yep.
Means we're paying you double time?
I don't think so.
First item on the agenda is the minutes from last meeting. Paul, do you have anything to say about those minutes? You weren't here, I know, but was there anything?
No, I think, I read through them. I think they're really clear, so.
We probably technically can't approve them since theoretically it requires someone who was here has to make the motion, or who was present.
Okay.
To make the motion.
Okay.
That's my understanding of Robert's Rules of Order, so.
Okay.
So we'll postpone that till next week.
Okay.
That brings us right into the discussion or possible action on access to Lake Shillelagh.
Okay. So I don't know if you have the agenda. Are you able to bring up the agenda on here?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I looked at that last week.
Yeah. So we had a resident who lives on back in that development, and he's looking to gain access via the city easement to gain access to the rear of his property. The only problem is, according to the original, covenants of that development, under easements, it specifically states, attached as Exhibit A is the detailed drawings of these access easement between lots 70 and 87, which have been established for city access for the purpose of maintaining the stormwater ponds. Maintenance of the access and ponds is responsibility of the city of Hudson. And so, from what I understand and what I read into that easement, is that it's basically, it's only easements for the city. If you actually look on the parcel maps that were provided in your agenda packet, the actual property that overlays the stormwater ponds there is private owned parcels of land.
Right.
And so, in order for this gentleman to gain access to the rear of his property, he would have to go through multiple private lots. And so I guess what I'm recommending is based upon that and from the original, development agreement stating that it's only the city's access. I guess I'm just recommending that we approve placing a permanent fence or gate or something along this path, because apparently other residents have been using this asphalt trail to gain access to the rear of their properties as well. And a neighbor has put a chain up across the trail, and someone's cut it down, and it's become kind of a neighborhood dispute. And I think just to put an end to it, go back to the original document. It was a city easement to maintain facilities behind the the stormwater facilities, and to have only the city access the rear of those properties. So
yeah, I drove by there just because I remember seeing it before, but to check it out, and it's I believe there's a statement that it's not even a walkway.
right.
So that's pretty severe, even though it's
Yeah.
nicely done. And then the intent is obviously that. So the agreement would have to be, the intent of the agreement would have to be changed, which would require the association to get involved. Have you had any input from the association on this, or?
No, I haven't. No. Do you think it'd be worthwhile to get some feedback from the association?
I don't know. They might be looking for us to make the decision. Those association things would get kind of messy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think, Paul? Should we?
I
see if-
would move to approve the proposal from the city to do the padlock and possibly a future gate just to settle the situation. I think that makes sense in terms of the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would second that. But I would also recommend that we just inform the association what we're doing,
Okay.
and then see, you know, if we get any pushback from them, then we can reconsider. But I think you're right. Based on all the information we have, that's the proper thing to do.
Right.
It'll resolve a neighborhood issue, and they won't have to handle it.
Right.
Have you had any conversations with anybody there? Have they actually contacted you? Apparently someone's actually contacted you about
The
permission.
gentleman that has requested access to the rear his property has contacted me, yeah, and that's kind of what's gotten this to this point, is to bring it forth and for discussion. And apparently it was brought forth to Tom in previous years in 2016, and nothing was done about it. So it's kind of opened back up, and I just want to get a permanent solution so we can just kind of put it to rest.
This minimal cost to do this, what do you envision?
Yeah, a couple $100 for a swing gate. Yeah, just cementing in the anchor posts and doing a swing gate. So
Yeah, I suppose it just takes one arm.
yeah, it's just kind of what you would see at a bike, you know,
Yeah.
bike trails, something
Okay.
similar to that.
Motion has been made to approve the closing of the asphalt trail to Shillelagh, or the storm access trail with the gate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Wow. Okay, I'm going to have to go in for a repair
okay.
session.
That's okay, Mr. Chairman. I think it's sidewalk snow removal, the standard operating
Thank
procedures.
you. All I'm having, all this coming up now is a
That's okay.
blank screen.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of in preparation of the upcoming winter season, I know that the city of Hudson last year implemented a sidewalk snow removal plan where we had a part-time gentleman go out after a snowfall and hand out letters to residents explaining them the ordinance, and then the residents had 24 hours to remove the snow after they were given the letter. At that time, the person inspecting would go back around to see if it was done or not, and then he would give the list to Debbie, which then she would give the list to a contractor that we had hired. Then the contractor would fit it into his schedule and go back to these properties and remove the snow at that time. A lot of the problems arose when the contractor would go back to the property. The sidewalks would be cleared. In other instances, lawns would be scalped along the sides of the sidewalks. And then the billing, I know that we had problems receiving the bill from the contractor. And it states in our ordinance that you have to bill the residents 30 days after you remove the snow. And that didn't happen, and we got caught. Some people didn't caught that language, and so we kind of had to swallow those expenses. And so just, you know, a lot of, it was a good first stab at it, and Hudson's going in the right direction. We need to have some sort of standards when it comes to removing snow from the sidewalks, just because we're trying to push, you know, pedestrian-friendly sidewalks in the summer and in the winter time. And in order to do so, people get around in the winter, we got to have the sidewalk shoveled, and states in our ordinance that, you know, residents should have their sidewalk shoveled 24 hours after it stops snowing. So what I'm bringing for you tonight is 3 different things. First, I wrote up a standard operating procedure that we put into effect for this year. In doing so, as part of that standard operating procedure, there is a door hanger, which I would like for you to look at and review tonight as well, that we would hang on residents' doors when a violation is found. And then lastly, we don't, in our fee schedule, in our current fee schedule, we don't have snow removal, sidewalk snow removal in our fee schedule. So every year the council approves a fee schedule for, you know, everything from, okay, you're aware of the fee schedule. Snow removal is not listed. And so what I did in coming up with a figure was I took all of our full-time employees' wages and I averaged them. I took my wage out of that. And then I added the Wisconsin DOT equipment rate for a tool cat, which we would use to remove the snow. And so what I'm proposing is, instead of contracting this out, we would do the sidewalk snow removal in-house. This would be part of one of the new employee that we're looking to hire. This would be a responsibility that he would have. He would go around and he would, have this violation with these door hangers. When he sees a person, he would hang this on their door. He would record the address. This would be perforated at the bottom. So he would fill out the address, the date, the time, and then he would tear that off. He would return it to the office, and then we would have a record that he would, that he checked this property. He would take a picture as well, and then he would have it on an Excel spreadsheet, and then the following day, after 24 hours after he posted this, he would go out and he would remove the snow right at that point in time. It would eliminate a lot of the communication and just kind of the delay. It would put the onus on one person, and he would be able to more efficiently manage that removal process. So in the standard operating procedure, the violation, I'll just read it. If a violation of code 212.9 is found to exist, staff will take a photo, hang an accompanying snow violation door hanger, record the address, date, and time. A receipt of the violation will be kept on file for future inspection. So basically, he goes out, sees that the snow is on the sidewalk, gives a person a violation, gives them 24 hours. He'll record the date, time on the receipt. We'll transpose it onto an Excel spreadsheet, and then he'll go back 24 hours and check to see if that snow has been removed. And if it hasn't, then we'll remove it at that time. Any subsequent violations from the same property owner, according to our ordinance, we don't have to give them any more notification. So it's a one-time notification for the season. So let's just say, first snowfall, person doesn't remove their snow, we go and do it for them. We will have their name on a list, and then we will go and check that property after every snowfall. And if it's not shoveled 24 hours after it's done snowing, we will have the authority then to just go and remove that snow, and we'll record it that the snow was removed. We'll take a picture so we have some documentation as well, instead of trying to go through the 24-hour notice process. We're trying to give the residents an opportunity to kind of just inform them, that first snowfall, that, hey, it's a responsibility for you to remove the snow from the sidewalk. We're trying to increase pedestrian mobility, that kind of thing. But then any subsequent time after that, we're looking to, expedite the process and get the snow removed off the sidewalk instead of, lagging a week, 2 weeks sometimes, and the snow is still on the sidewalk. So.
Okay. Is there any kind of communication when we remove the snow? Like we tag their door saying, we have removed your snow, and you're going to be receiving is it billed, or does it go against the tax rolls?
Yeah, it'll be billed, and then if it's not paid, it'll go on the tax rolls.
Okay.
Yep. No, there's not. So that's something that I could add.
Think about whether
And Mike,
I'm saying you can expect a bill, basically.
Yeah.
We have removed your snow, yada yada.
on the door tag,
Mm-hmm.
the next page, is that the back of the door tag where it says
Yeah.
section? Okay,
Yep,
so that's the ordinance, basically, that's
Yep.
yep, okay.
that's the ordinance.
And then my other questions are, do we have enough staffing and enough time to do this in the midst of, let's say we get a snowfall over a couple day period or something like that? Like, how does that work?
So sidewalks would take it wouldn't be a high priority. Only until Kevin Solstice, our street foreman, would feel comfortable with letting that person, go off and do the sidewalks. And I've been in contact with Kevin about this, and he feels comfortable. The new employee will help, plow the streets, alleys, and then when they start going into that snow removal operation, as far as loading snow out of the cul-de-sacs, removing downtown, that would be an opportunity for this person to break away, take a piece of equipment that would be able to go on the sidewalks and do this type of work. And to answer your question, if we do have a period of a 2 or 3 day period of snowfall, the person would just stay on the roads consistently, just
Okay.
because those are higher priorities. And then when, like I said, when they go into that kind of that snow removal, hauling process, then that person would break away and do sidewalks.
Okay.
Yep.
And we'd have enough staff to
Yeah.
do it, is what you're trying to say?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's a little bit higher priority than it has been, but
Right.
it's not a high priority item. It's getting the
Yep.
parks and trails and streets.
Yep. Priority roads, residential cul-de-sacs, trails, and then sidewalks. So,
You mentioned a snowcat. Is that what you said?
Toolcat.
Toolcat.
Yep.
I remember I heard last year that one of the things that happened was that the contractor came in with a bobcat that was wider than the sidewalks and
Yeah.
was not supposed to do that.
Right. And we're actually looking at different options, because the Toolcat would be something similar to that. We're looking at possibly leasing or renting a unit for the season for a 3-month stretch at a fairly reasonable cost. That would be a little narrower, that it wouldn't scalp the lawns. In fact, I got a meeting with a rep that specializes in sidewalk removal equipment this week, and he'll give me some numbers and see how much it would be to rent a unit for 2019 season.
Would that help with the trails as well?
It would
Or
be.
downtown?
Oh yeah,
or-
yeah. It would help downtown with trails, and yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was one of the concerns that I had heard too. Was the skid steer was just too wide for the sidewalks and scalping lawns, and
Yeah.
so we want to try and avoid that at all costs.
Downtown, we've had some issues with whatever we've used to finish cleanup,
Mm-hmm.
gouging sidewalks.
Okay.
In front of Barker's, they gouged all the bricks,
Oh,
and those had to be replaced. And then I've seen other sidewalks.
Yeah.
I've had shop owners complain, take me out and say, look at that.
yeah,
The scars in the sidewalk.
yeah.
So I'm not sure what we've been using, but we need to kind of,
What they use for downtown is they use one of the motor graders. They use the scraper on the motor grader, and what they do is they pull the snow off the sidewalk, the snowbank. And so what's happening is the operator's putting down pressure on the moldboard, and it's scarring the
just
sidewalk.
kind of resting on that end out there.
Yeah, yeah. But that's how they're able to pull all that snow off the sidewalk and into the street so that they can blow it into the trucks.
I wonder what was heavy enough to
Yep,
actually do that kind of damage.
yep. That's what's causing that.
Is there anything we can do about that?
You could put less pressure on it. You can kind of just float the moldboard out there. You're not going to get all the snow off the sidewalk.
Right.
That's the only
Right.
downfall with that. So it's kind of a battle, so to speak.
Find the balance.
Yeah, there's a balance there. If we were to not scrape with pressure, the shop owners would just have to go out in front of their shops and shovel the rest of that snow back into the roadway and wait for another snow cleanup day to get the rest of it,
Mm-hmm.
So, but if that's a problem that we're facing each and every year, that's something that maybe we want to look at doing differently in the future. I guess I'd like to see the operation one time and make
Mhm.
adjustments after
See how
that.
close.
Yeah.
So the minimum rate, if I'm reading this right, the minimum rate $66.56
Yep.
per hour. So I don't know exactly how the Toolcat works, but let's say it's the average size house, for example, and this is the sidewalk that runs along their front yard or whatnot.
Yep.
Like, how fast, like, obviously, we don't know how much snow it is, but like, what would be like, are we talking this is 20 minutes to clear? Is this 15? Is this 10? Is this an hour? Like, how long are we talking?
Typically about 10 minutes for a residential sidewalk.
Okay. And then the 60, so it would be basically, that's the rate, that's not a minimum fee, that they would pay the portion of that hour. Does that sound right? They would pay the 10 minutes of that, or would they pay the?
I would suggest that we pay, that would be the minimum rate. If we go out and clear your sidewalk, that's the minimum rate.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because we're trying to get people to shovel their own sidewalks.
Right.
Is the ultimate goal.
Right.
If we do a 10% of that, $6.56, people aren't going to shovel their sidewalks anywhere around town.
So that needs to be clarified in the way it's written up here, because
Okay.
is that when I read that, and I understand the total reasoning, and
Yep.
I get that. We
In
don't
the
want to be,
SOP.
we want to be discouraging, and also we don't want to be losing money on doing this, right? We need to we need a pair of staff and our equipment.
Yep.
But I think it should say like the minimum rate is 66.56 and an additional 66.56 per hour charge if it's more than an hour or something like that.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
because it's not clear, I would be confused if I just read this as a homeowner.
Sure.
Yeah,
The per hour thing is, I think, what's confusing me. I
Right.
think if it just says the minimum rate 66.56,
Okay.
and then in addition to that, if it takes more than
minimum
1 hour,
charge.
you'll be charged at 66.56 per hour.
So the
something like
minimum
that.
charge is going to be 1 hour? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
or it's 66.56 per hour, and you will be charged a minimum of at least 1 hour. That's another way to say it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
Just so
like
that they have a sense of, that's what they're on the hook for. If it takes 15, 20, half hour, they're on the hook for that.
Yeah, because you got there's a lot of downtime in between. You got to load and unload the piece of equipment.
Right.
Right.
I'm assuming we're
Yep.
not driving it around.
No.
Yep.
And
Yep.
dispatch and the whole 9 yards. So there's,
Yep.
and you've already invested time in the notice, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's an hour charge is probably a reasonable charge.
I think so, and I also think, I want to say I think the door hanger is really well done, and I love that the contacts for you and Deb are both on there.
Yep.
So if they have questions, they can follow up. It looks like it's easy to use. Makes sense, the kind of the tear off portion, so.
Yeah. Good.
I think it's really clear, yeah.
Good.
Is the ordinance, do we need to do any clarification to the ordinance itself, or is?
No, I think the ordinance is fairly straightforward. I've looked at other communities, and they're all fairly similar to what we have. So where we differ is, some of our, how we compensate, that kind of thing. So, but as far as the act of getting the snow off the sidewalk, it's pretty universal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would move to approve or I'd make a motion to approve the sidewalk snow removal standard operating procedure accompanying notification and fee proposal.
Second that. Moved and seconded to approve the new sidewalk removal SOP. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, the next item, discussion of possible action on snow storage.
All right. Again, another item related to the upcoming winter season. Because the dog track is no longer a possibility for us because of its current condition, staff has been kind of trying to find a alternate location to dump snow. Right now we utilize Grandview Park for a majority of our snow dumping. We also utilize Prospect Park when we get in a pinch, and that's only utilized with snow that we haul out of cul-de-sacs because it's cleaner. There's very little garbage from the cul-de-sac snow. And so I was contacted, in fact Mike Johnson reached out to me, and there's a local developer that would be willing to offer some of his space to us. Fortunately, I haven't been able to contact him and get a number on what that would be, if he would look to lease a space and how much that would cost. But I guess I just wanted to bring it forward tonight to see if you've had any discussions in the past of any alternate locations that you've talked of, or if you can think of any other alternate locations. And the one thing that we have to pay particular attention to is the sites that we choose have to have some sort of asphalt or concrete underneath them, because in the springtime, after the snow melts, we go in with our sweeper and clean up all the garbage with our sweeper, and it saves on labor and time instead of going out there and picking it by hand. And so in order to do that, we need to have a hard surface, to run the sweeper on. And so I know the gentleman that has offered this alternate location. I'll just say what it is. It's the old Fleet Farm site, kind of that parking area right in front of the old Fleet Farm site. He's also involved with the St. Croix Meadows development, and he's like, well, if you want to use it, you can still use the dog track this year. But like I said, it's tough with all the garbage that would be hauled out there and how we would clean it up. So I guess I'm just open for any thoughts, or if anybody's listening tonight, or and has large, blacktop or concrete area that they'd be willing to lease to the city in times of a pinch, that kind of thing to store some snow, that would be great. From what I understand, from what Kevin tells me, is Grandview can hold a lot of snow up there. The only thing is we want to keep it fairly open because the dog parks are up there now. We want to keep some access for them to utilize those spaces in the wintertime. So it does kind of narrow down what can be stored up there, but it's still a big space. And so we would only be looking for this would be a backup location where we would want to put the snow. It wouldn't be a primary location. So
The secondary spot you're looking for now?
Yep.
And Mike, would we have money in the Public Works budget already for like leasing a space for snow, or how would that work?
We would probably take it out of the snow removal budget line item.
Okay.
Yep. And we wouldn't need any locations until 2019, so we could just take it out of 2019 budget, because I'm not guessing we're going to get enough snow to fill up Grandview Park in the next 2 months. Hopefully not.
Knock on wood.
But that's where that money would come out of, snow removal.
Well, I know your predecessor, Tom Zulli, had always talked about up near the business park, kind of off of Hanley. I don't know the exact location, but I also don't know if it's got an asphalt bottom to it. I don't think it does.
It doesn't. No, that was part of Tom's process or proposal. Where he was headed was that we would actually end up blacktopping a section there, but thinking he was also working as that site has kind of been earmarked for future public works building facility. So he was sort of
putting them together,
putting those two things together and saying, well, it's just a natural. So that died. What happened to that?
Okay,
yeah. I don't know. I've racked my brain, and there's not a lot of space to store snow within the city of Hudson.
Right.
It was a significant amount just to blacktop this section that we would need. So that was probably that probably killed that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing is to do something like that. But then there's a whole lot of other work that has to go into that plan. That's where we're going to be, and I don't think we're there right now.
No. So I think for the purpose of this meeting, what I'll do is I will contact, by the next meeting, I'll get in touch with the gentleman that has offered that site in front of the Old Fleet Farm, and hopefully have some numbers for you to vote on. And if, like I said, in the meantime, if you think of any other sites, feel free to tell me about them, and I can reach out to them and see if we can come up with a solution. Because it's just nice to have that ease of mind that you have an alternate location just in case our primary location gets full. Right. The other option that Tom had floated was purchasing an ice or a snow melter, but I don't know. It's like $150,000-$200,000 unit, just off the top of my head. So and I don't know how if the DNR would like us melting snow and dumping it right in the St. Croix River with all the.
No, we couldn't do that.
No.
We would have to be putting it into a retention pond somewhere.
Yeah, for it to settle out.
Yeah, Tom had kind of was looking at up in Grandview Park, melting up there, and then running it. There's a pond, apparently a large pond in the back.
Sure.
Where he was thinking about putting that.
Yeah.
Then there's energy costs and.
Absolutely.
It's not a
cheap. It's not. Yeah, it's not cheap to operate.
I was getting opposition when it was just a dream.
Yeah.
So, if it was a reality, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
What's going to happen. It's interesting, and the question I asked Tom was, well, can we make this a paying proposition where we would actually perform snow melting for local people who have shopping centers and parking lots to clean, and they have a snow removal issue as well.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if they follow the same standards that we do in terms of it's got to be cleaned to melt it, or how they manage that.
Yeah.
That was one of the possibilities, but I think that would require a lot of research. Not out of the question.
The other option is, do we you don't want to choose a location that's outside the city, because then your efficiencies just decrease so much. You know, you're running from downtown 5 miles out of town, and that's not helpful either.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm going to ask you a question around that. You said considering using the old Fleet Farm site as a alternative after we fill Grandview. I'm not sure. I think we'd want to think about how much more efficient would we be to use that now, because then everything south of 94, you wouldn't have to go up to 90 up there.
Sure.
So might be a cost. You know,
safety
if the
measure.
cost is reasonable, I think I'd encourage you to.
Yeah. Okay.
To,
Well, like I said, I'll get some numbers for next meeting, and then we can vote on it.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
proceed with that, because right now it's not looking too bright to find any other spot. Not that I can think of, anyways.
Yeah.
So.
One idea, and it might be out there, but for communicating with the public, put maybe a little blurb in the local newspaper, Hudson Star Observer, and just say, hey, city might be looking for some place for snow removal and storage, and I don't know if that's helpful, but
Yeah.
if you know, they might watch it on cable TV here tonight, but
yeah.
if we just ask the city, there might be some folks that read that and say, hey, I got a space, or what about, you know, something over here, that type of thing.
Yeah, make that part of your blurb, your
Yeah.
fall blurb.
Yep. I will.
That'd be good.
Never know.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Very good. Project update, Public Works.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So had a meeting today with Eric Henningsgaard from SEH, and he is nearing the completion of our stormwater management plan. He brought over 3 different items that the DNR requires as part of this MS4 plan. The first one is a comprehensive map of all the stormwater facilities within the city of Hudson. The second element is called a SWIP. It is a stormwater pollution prevention plan for municipal facilities. And then the last one is the overall stormwater management plan for the entire city's stormwater infrastructure. And so this is a map of all of our stormwater facilities within the city of Hudson. You know, it's got all the pipes, the underground pipes, where they lead to, where the outfalls are. And that's important because the outfalls, we need to monitor those per the DNR. Priority outfalls are monitored once every year. Non-priority are monitored once every 5 years. Also on here, it lists all of our ponds, So it even goes into, it differentiates whether it's infiltration pond, whether it's a dry detention pond, whether the city owns it, whether it's a private. There are some that are unknown that we'll have to do some research on and get them figured out. But it's a start anyways to kind of what we need as a city as we move forward on maintaining, you know, all of our stormwater facilities. So this, in conjunction with the 2 plans, and recently the council, or there was an ordinance that was rewritten for stormwater maintenance and management. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim. It's been about a year ago or now, or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So in conjunction with, you know, those 4 items, we got a fairly good handle, and we're ready to, with a couple of minor changes after today's meeting. Eric will get me back the drafts, and then we'll submit this to the DNR office for final submission on our stormwater MS4 management plan. So, yeah, it's
That's a great resource.
absolutely. Let's see, what else can I add to that? Quarterly inspections. As part of the stormwater, you know, the SWIPS plan, where we have to monitor our east and west garage up on the north side of town. We have to do quarterly inspections up there with our outfalls. And then we also have to make some minor changes to runoff issues that we have at some of the facilities. especially the east garage, maintaining our materials with like a coffin block system, putting in some bags. They call them stormwater catch bags, where you put them actually in the stormwater catch basin, and then it collects the debris, and then you empty them, every month or so. So those are just some of the small changes that have been identified in this plan. As part of the overall stormwater pollution plan, it goes into, and I should have brought some of the data record sheets that we're going to have to fill out, but it goes over this purpose of objectives. It makes recommendations for let's see here. No, the wrong one. This one. So it lists out, public education outreach, what we need to do, public involvement, what we need to do. It outlines the illicit discharge and detention program that we have to initiate or perform now. Construction site pollutant control, how we're going to handle erosion control measures on construction sites. How we're going to manage and maintain our ponds, and there's a form to fill out for, after we go in and clean out these ponds. Then we got to write up a form, or fill out a form to show that we've been maintaining our ponds. Got to keep record of that. Goes into pollution prevention, staff training, that kind of thing. So, like I said, it's nearing completion. And then in 2019, SEH has been helping us out the previous couple of years as far as filling out the annual report. 2019 will be the first year that the city of Hudson will actually take that reporting on. I'll be responsible for filling that out, along with Chad Christensen, who's been kind of our main MS4 go-to stormwater expert on the city staff. So I know he's been to various trainings. He's been involved in this program since day one, and he's been designated as the person that's going to kind of take on a lot of the management of this plan and filling out the forms and keeping the records and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's very exciting. Like I said, it's nice that it's almost completed, and I know it's been a long process, and like I said, submit it to the DNR, and then we'll submit it for the grant reimbursement as well. So yeah,
that was important.
Yep.
One of the, and I know in the budget, you have some money in the budget for cleaning out, starting to clean out, I'm going to use that term,
Yep.
of the storm water basins.
Yep.
Do we have any sense from this work that was done where we need to start working? Or is it,
So
is
yeah,
that something we need to pull together yet?
we'll have to put that together. And we have to do initial inspections. And so Chad's going to go around, he's going to do initial inspections on, we have 71 outfalls. He'll have to do initial inspections on them. Then he'll also have to do initial inspections on all the ponds that we have under our jurisdiction. And then from that list that we receive from him, we'll make recommendations as far as what ponds we want to tackle and maintain first and foremost. The initial thoughts are to maintain, we have a big stormwater pond just south of 94 and west of, I believe it's 11th Street. It's a very substantial pond, and from what I understand is pretty much this whole area kind of drains to this facility before it enters in the St. Croix River. And so that would kind of be, in my estimation, a higher priority pond, just to get that one up and running and in decent shape. And we can do a bunch of educational signage on there that'll kind of encompass some of the education requirements and that kind of thing. But yeah, well, after we get that initial inspections done, we'll make recommendations and tackle them from there. So that's
And,
that.
Do we have enough staffing for, this is a big growing thing, and when I saw in the minutes that new position was going to be like 60/40 or something like that. So, and that's part of what, right, we need more help with that area. Okay.
Yeah. So the new position, what the new position will do is they'll sweep in the springtime, do our main kind of spring sweeping, and then throughout the summer months he'll be mowing stormwater facilities, stormwater ponds, and sweeping. And then in the fall he'll go back to sweeping up leaves. So in that summer month period, he will be kind of alternating between the sweeper and maintaining the ponds. And that was his main responsibility, and kind of the main purpose of bringing him on board was to help in managing this plan.
Okay.
Because like you said, we have almost
It's
100 ponds.
Right,
you
it's a
know.
big
We have
job.
107 ponds within the city of Hudson.
107?
107, and
Okay.
that's private and public together.
Okay.
Yep, that have been identified. And some of them are as small as this room. Some of them are humongous. So,
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about south of 94, that's a huge pond.
right,
Big one, yeah.
yeah. And I don't think people realize that it is actual stormwater facility. They think it's just a woods.
Oh,
So that'll have to be another thing too when we start to maintain and clear out some of these ponds, is the communication with the public, with the abutting property owners, just to let them know what we're doing, why we're doing it.
I see another newspaper article coming too.
Yes, that'll be
Next spring.
There'll be some letters sent to property owners and yeah.
you might win a Pulitzer Prize for journalism.
Right? Yeah, right. I hear you. So that's what it's all about, communicating with the public, letting them know what we're doing, because
Yep.
I'd rather catch it up front than receive 50 phone calls afterwards. What are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Yep.
And we
Yep.
can kind of reduce some of
Right.
those questions up front.
Yeah, well, that's excellent.
So,
I hadn't
yeah.
thought about that, but that's very good.
Yeah. And then if there's no other questions on this, the second thing that I have for you tonight is Farner, who is, our contractor to do the flex patch and crack fill
Oh, yeah.
this year. They have yet to come to town, and we are reaching that point in the season where, in my estimation and talking to various staff members, where the flex patch that we've bid out and contracted with them probably isn't the best to do it at this time of year, just because the pavement temperatures are starting to decline, and the likelihood of that product sticking to the roads over the winter time is highly unlikely. And so I don't want to see us throw away money on a product that won't last. I'm still hopeful that they can get in here this week or next week and do the crack filling portion of the project. But I guess my recommendation is to, forego the flex patching portion of that project, which was roughly $58,000, and carry that over to next year and add it to that street maintenance budget and do some, whether we do flex patching or seal coating or more crack filling. But that's kind of my recommendation. And I look through the contract documents. I have to send a formal letter to the company letting them know that we're going to be pulling out of that portion of the contract at this point in time. So I just want to kind of update both of you on that and kind of give you the reasons why we're doing so. So just in case somebody asks, why aren't we doing the flex patching this year? It's getting to that point in the season. And it's unfortunate. I know that Deb and Tom and Kevin, they were very diligent in getting the bid done early this year. I think the bid was awarded in early June. Ample time to come in here and complete the project, and just schedules or conflicts or weather or just not being high on the priority list, they still haven't come here, and it's frustrating.
So do we have any recourse in the contract, or is there anything about if it doesn't get done by a certain time or something?
Yeah, that was a good question. I was just thinking.
We do have recourse. We could, if we wanted to go down that avenue, we could.
Well, not necessarily
There
suggesting
is.
it. I'm just trying to figure out, we really don't know why they haven't come on time, right? Or,
No.
so,
The excuse I get is weather related
Okay.
majority of the time. Yeah.
okay.
Of course.
Because we've been in contact with them for the last month and a half, saying, when are you going to be here? When are you going to be here?
Sure.
But there is language in the contract. It's a penalty for each day past the tentative completion date. It's a reduction in the cost of the project.
Okay.
The only issue with moving forward with that is Farner was the only person to bid on our project this year. and they do a majority of the crack filling, seal coating, flex patch work in this area in the Midwest. They're a big company, and so to kind of a catch-22 because you don't want to alienate them or have a bad working relationship with them because they do so much work. And like I said, if they didn't bid on the project, we wouldn't have had anybody bid on the project. And so we're kind of in a pickle as far as how much you drop the hammer compared to in the future having like I said, a good working relationship with the company.
Right. And they do something that we're not able to do ourselves? We don't have the equipment or something, or?
No, we don't have the equipment to do crack filling
Okay.
or flex patching. We
Okay.
do spray patching. We have a spray patch machine.
Okay.
And so that's another thing too, moving forward, do we go away from the flex patching and go more towards the spray patch? I know I did raise the line item in the street maintenance budget to do so, to increase some of our quantities of material to help alleviate some of those. The other thing too is we could look at hiring a company to do scab patching. I've done scab patching in previous years where larger areas of roadway have been eaten out. Say you got a 10 by 12 area, a company will come in and mill off that square 1.5 inches deep, mill it off, clean it out, and they'll throw a new asphalt. And that's another way to extend the life of the road as well. So maybe that's another option that we can look at instead of the flex patching.
Okay.
So that's kind of the update on that.
So would you anticipate, would you be looking at next spring or later, put just to do the crack filling and flex patching, or would you put it off, schedule again later in the year?
I'm looking at the forecast, and as long as it stays in that 50-degree range, I'm comfortable with the crack sealing or the crack filling, just because, you're not, with that flex patch, it's basically just a Band-Aid on top of the road, and the plows are more susceptible to catching it. Whereas that crack filling, you're routing the crack in the road and you're filling it in, and there's kind of that little depression. And so I'm hopeful that within the next couple weeks, I hope they get in here and do it. But I'll have to look at the temperatures and kind of just see the weather, and if it gets consistently in that low 40s and below, I might almost pull the plug on the crack filling as well and push that off to next spring too, just because you don't want to have it not work and then you spend time cleaning it up and have to redo it, and the company might not be as apt to do it as well because they're actually on the hook if they do put down the product and it comes back up within, I don't remember the contract, but if it comes back up over the winter months, they're on the hook to replace it at no cost to the city as well. So there is some protection against the city for, if we do go ahead and do the crack filling portion of that project.
So
Sounds good.
Probably the best you can do is some friendly discussions with them. What can you,
Yeah.
all right, you guys failed us, what can you do for us?
Yep.
Again, walking a line about
Yeah.
keeping a relationship and getting good work.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, the staff did everything right. They put a tentative date in there. It was September 28th or somewhere in there. So I mean, they did everything, that I would have done to protect the city against something like this. Putting that date in there, you'd think it would kind of encourage them to get in here and do it before then, but it just hasn't happened, unfortunately.
Do we need to raise this to the council level for visibility? Kind of a warning, first of all, a warning that the 58,000 you're going to want to carry over to next year.
Yep.
So next spring is when you ask for the money,
It's there.
It's not new news.
Right.
Except for, we might forget it, but you can remind us.
Yeah. I think so.
That on the SOP, I think it'd be good to let them know that we're improving our procedures and getting more. Getting back to that, what did the sidewalk cleaning cost us last year? It was a net loss to
It
the
was,
city.
I know the
Closest.
chart, I don't know the net loss from the unpaid bills, but I know the contractor was charging, I believe it was like $35 or $40 for just a sidewalk. The corner lot was different than
Sure.
resident that was inside the block. Inside the block it was 35 or 40, and then a corner lot was like 50, I believe, something like that. But I can have those numbers ready for the council meeting.
Just
We're not talking, I mean, there were 68, roughly 68, 65 sidewalk ordinance violations issued last winter. So it's not a lot, it's not a little, it's kind of right in the middle.
Right.
You would think it'd be a lot more, especially with the winter that we had.
Right.
How do those get visibility? Someone has to, is it, did they come from our inspections, or is it coming from calls, people calling in and saying, hey?
So our inspections, yep. And when people do call in from time to time, yep, that'll happen. My sidewalk, my neighbor's sidewalk hasn't been cleared for a week, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah. I know 2 years ago, I called one in when I fell.
Yep. Yeah.
I knocked on the door, no one home, but,
Yeah. So that's all I have for updates for you tonight.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
okay. Items for future agendas?
I have one thought, and Mike, you can probably shed some light on this. And it relates to the snow plowing as well, but do we have any kind of a, is there any kind of a map that we have that shows us, you know, here's the priority routes and here's the, you know, later ones, that type of thing? I don't know if that exists or if that would be something in the future to work on, not to overwhelm you because you got your map here tonight with all the MS4, but
Yeah.
is that something that, I don't know the history with the city, like is that something that could be done or not, or?
Absolutely. In fact, one of my goals was to put a snow removal policy on tonight's agenda. I just wasn't able to complete it.
Sure.
So I'll have it on next month's or the next meeting's
Okay.
agenda, and included in that we will have maps of priority roads.
Okay.
We'll break it into, you know, priorities 1, 2, 3, and 4. They'll be color coded. It'll explain the routes that we do first, the routes that we do second, third, fourth,
Yep.
so on and so forth. That along with anything from what residents will do if we scalp their sod or knock over their mailbox, or, you know, to the types of chemicals that we use, why we use them, how we use them. It'll be basically, it'll cover everything that we do related to snow removal.
Awesome.
So
That's
we'll
really
have that
great.
and then we'll upload it to the website as well.
That's great, because I think citizens can see it then, and
Yep.
they kind of know what's going on.
Yep.
and- Yep.
So, yep, I'll have that on next month's agenda.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Should we check with Devin on anything else that we could put on the website, you know, special notices, for example? I don't know how many people actually access it. I do,
Yeah.
that's where I get
Yeah.
my information,
Yeah.
with those notices, but,
So I've been trained in, I was trained in on changing the website, so I'm able to go in and, so I actually redid the snow plowing, snow removal webpage already. So if residents are out there and they want to take a look, kind of added some information, so some informative stuff, how many miles of roads we have, cul-de-sacs, kind of the snow removal, you know, that'll be added to a snow removal policy, sidewalk removal, snow removal. So yeah, now I'm looking to redo some of our websites as well to make them more informative and be more helpful to residents.
Yeah, good.
wonderful. Okay. Anything else? Do you have any other plans for the next meeting?
Nope.
Leaf removal right now, I suppose.
Leaf removal right now. Yes, we're busy out monitoring. I mean, we got the street sweeper going every day. I know staff has been hanging. As part of the MS4, we made up door hangers for people that are raking leaves into the street, and kind of just informing them why we don't do that. So I know staff has been going around, if they've noticed people doing that, they've been hanging the notice on their door, and just to kind of inform people of be more cognizant of
Yeah.
why they shouldn't be doing that type of thing. So it's that ongoing community education portion of the MS4 that we're looking to do, especially this time of year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Related to that, do we have I don't know that we don't have a leaf dumping spot.
No. So we have the leaf pickup program where people are able to purchase a tag for $1.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. But yeah, at this point in time, we don't have a leaf disposal area, and you know, it's something that we may want to look at doing in the future. Again, you got to look at the sites, you know,
Gotta have the place and
yeah,
gotta be able to maintain it.
how to monitor that kind of thing. You know, the curbside pickup, and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be a very successful, popular program, and a lot of people utilize it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I'd want to change
It's easy
that.
enough to do. It's easier to just put them out there than
Yeah,
keep running my van back and forth to
Right.
whatever location, yeah.
and then you get other things besides leaves and those piles as well when you're not monitoring what's going out there. So, it seems to be a successful program, and I would continue what we have going on right now. Yeah.
It would have to be a whole composting, recycling
Yeah,
program, and that's
right. You know, and that's something that, you
takes
know,
some effort.
that's one of the things that, you know, City of Hudson doesn't have is a storage site like that for branches for residents and,
Mhm.
you know, leaves for composting. I've thought about it. I've looked at the map and tried to find a site that wouldn't be in a residential area and not by a park. And I tell you what, it's just Hudson's, you know, just booming. There's not a lot of empty spaces in town, you know? So maybe you want to look at acquiring land out to the east. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. If there's no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thank you.